go ahead and jump right in. And today I got a special video for you. Let me be honest with you. Research is not your enemy when it comes to this exam. But for many people, it feels that way. But it's probably the way you're taught the information. That's what makes most people panic. The words come up, you see validity, you see qualitative, you see quantitative, quasi-experimental, and you like, what the, you know. And many people begin to think, I'm bad at research. First and foremost, you know, if you're part of this channel, we don't say that we're bad at anything. We just need to fine tune it and learn some ways to elevate and learn how to do things a little bit more efficiently and more effectively as we go through this test prep journey. So remember, you're not bad at research. You might have just been taught it the wrong way. Now, when it comes to the LCSW exam, it's not testing you like you're a PhD student. That's where we get it wrong. It's testing us like we're a social worker who knows how to think responsibly. So today, I'm breaking down how research actually shows up on the exam, what terms really mean in the English, or should I say in the exam language, and how to answer these questions without freezing or overthinking. Guys, if research has ever made you second guess yourself, stay with me. I'm gonna try to make this as helpful and hella fun as possible. So let's jump in. What research is not when it comes to the LCSW exam? First, let's get that out the way. The exam is not asking you to memorize studies. They're not asking you to remember authors. They're not even asking you to know statistical formulas or quote journal articles. Literally, it's not asking that. That's what we call academic research. The LCSW exam uses research as a decision-making filter. That's the difference. Think about it. We're using this as a social worker. So there's a way that we have to think and make a decision is going to help us when it comes to this information. They want to know, can you interpret information correctly? Can you recognize limits? Can you avoid jumping to conclusions? That's it. That's what the research when it comes to the ASWB exam for LMSW, LCSW test takers wants us to know. That's it. Once you understand that, research becomes much less intimidating. Let's go over two things. Qualitative versus quantitative. These are some easy points that you can get on the exam. This shows up all the time. And here's how the exam thinks about it. Qualitative research is about the interviews, the focus groups, the lived experience. That is what they're looking for. The meaning and the themes. That is when you're looking at the qualitative. So on the exam, if qualitative research shows up, you're going to see questions that ask things like, how do the clients experience something? See that? What does this mean to them? You get it? Now, the limitation, normally they're small samples. They're not generalizable. Yes, you know that term, generalizable. However, that lets you know that you're dealing with qualitative research. Now let's move on to quantitative. Quantitative, we're dealing with the numbers. We're dealing with scales. We're dealing with measurable outcomes. We're dealing with the effectiveness. So when the exam asks, does this intervention work? You know we're thinking of quantitative. If it says, what outcome has changed? You know we're thinking quantitative. The limitation, it may miss the context or the lived experience because that is covered in what? Qualitative. Absolutely. So if the question is about experience, think qualitative. If it's about outcome, about effectiveness, think quantitative. You know, that is how I want you to think about that. Of course, quantitative people think numbers and quantity and all that stuff, whatever works for you. But let's move on to validity. Yes, we're going to keep it a little simple, you know? Validity may sound scary, but the exam uses it very plainly. Validity basically means, are we measuring what we think we're measuring? That's it. Are we measuring what we think we're measuring? So on the exam, when validity shows up, it's a tool that doesn't match the issue. A measure maybe a measure is culturally biased, should I say. Maybe conclusions don't line up with the data. If that's the case, it's showing that the tool is flawed. The conclusions are flawed. You are not expected to list types of validity. You're expected to spot mismatched information and biases. Yes, that is what we're supposed to do. Let's take it a little step further. Experimental versus quasi-experimental. This one trips people up all the time, and it's a big one. You're likely to see this on exam very often. So a true experimental study has random assignment, control groups, And that allows stronger cause and effect claims. A quasi-experimental study does not have random assignment. And here's the key exam tip. Follow me for a moment. I should have said this at the beginning, but hopefully you got your handy dandy notebook, your pen and paper, and you're taking notes. If not, pause the video and go back. All right, just pause it. Go ahead. We're going to pause. I'm going to wait for you for a few moments because I should have told you at the beginning. So you're going to have to go back and take notes, but you can pick up right now and start taking notes from where you are. So most social work research is quasi-experimental, and that's okay. Do you want to know why? Because random assignment is often unethical or impractical. The exam test is whether you understand the limit, not whether you can judge the design. That's the key. Understanding the limit, not being able to judge the design. So if there's no random assignment, you can't say this caused the outcome, but you can say results suggest effectiveness. There is an association. Those are the things you're looking for. All right, stick with me as we move on. Reliability, bias, and overconfidence. Woo! These are those quiet traps that come to bite us in the butt. So let me give you a few quick little concepts, or should I say the exam sneak peeks that will help you understand this terminology a little bit better. Of course, I gotta stick with my notes to make sure that I'm on track and I'm able to give you the secret sauce. So look on the screen and you'll see. Reliability. Reliability means if a tool gives different results every time, is not reliable. Inconsistent tools, weak data. We're not going for that. In the big 2026, you need to understand these terms and know them so you won't get tricked up when the exam asks you. So again, let's go back. Reliability. If you're trying to determine if something is reliable and if the tool gives you a different result every time, that's telling you it's not reliable. Just think about it like people. Reliability. All right, so let's talk about inconsistent tools and weak data. That's gonna let us know right then and there that the tool is what? Not what? Reliable. Absolutely. Let's talk about correlation versus causation. I'm telling you, these two things move together. Does not mean that one has caused the other. That is the little point that people get confused with. The exam hates overconfident conclusions. So you're looking at something and you're like, oh, that's that. So think about it from this way. You can have a correlation and you can also have a causation. Just remember, the two does not mean that they're going to stick together. So just because two items are correlated does not mean that they're the cause of one another. So think about that. Understand these terms, jot them down so you can go back and do a little bit more deep diving if you wanna, but I don't think you're gonna need it. But that's up to you. All right. So as I was saying, the exam hates the overconfidence conclusions, which we understand that. So we want to make sure that we really understand the information before we make those decisions. Let's move on to bias, especially when you're dealing with cultural competency, cultural humility, and all that cultural stuff. You have a lot of cultural bias. If a tool wasn't used for certain diverse populations, that is something to consider. You want to make sure and understand that you can't normalize a tool that's used for one population for all population. That really matters. So when you're dealing with ethical social work questions and you're dealing with bias research, those are the things you want to understand. They normally show up and say things like, what conclusion is inappropriate? Or what is the limitation of this study? Obviously, it was only used with English-speaking clients, or it was only used with females, or those would be limitations. Let's move on to program evaluation. This one surprises people all the time. Program evaluation is research thinking in real world clothing. So on the exam, it shows up like this. Is the intervention working? Should the services be modified? What data should be reviewed? If the question is about outcomes, effectiveness, or next step, research logic is in play. The pattern the exam rewards. Think about it like this. The exam loves LCSW and LMSW test takers to understand that you have to be cautious when you're coming up with conclusions. Always assess before you got it, before you act or before you intervene. Limits are acknowledged. You gotta acknowledge the limitations, and that ethics always has to be considered. These are first and foremost. So if the answer sounds dramatic, sounds absolute, or a little bit overly confident, research-based answers won't do that. They're more calm, they're more structured, they're more methodical, should I say. So think about that. So when you get the questions on the exam, you're thinking through them, and if you need to make an educated guess because you just don't understand, you're looking for those terms and those words that kind of align with what we're looking for. Remember, guys, you don't need to be good at research. You just need to know how to slow down. Yes, Slow down, read carefully, avoid assumptions. That is a must. That's social work at its finest. You already do this each and every day. The exam just wants us to apply it on paper. That's all. So if you're struggling with this and you need some help, I'm telling you guys, the community is where you need to tap in at. You see all the posts, you see all the ads. I did a video showing you the ins and outs of it. Keep in mind, guys, that research is not about memorizing terms, neither is any other part of the exam. That is why we're here to help you, to fine tune those things, to make sure that you're able to think responsibly. We're doing all types of things. We have mindfulness Mondays. We have lunch and learns in the middle of the week. We have things on the weekends, things in the evening, exam prep, question, strategy, confidence building, all the things you need in this one community where you have access to myself and my amazing coaches who are all familiar with the Elite Test Prep program. They've been there, they've done that, they've passed. A lot of them are one and done. Some of them were struggling a little bit, but they came into our program and they aced it and passed it with flying colors. So we're proof right here. We're the living proof that this program, the system, everything that I'm teaching you works and is hella helpful. Make sure you tap in, make sure you stop avoiding, make sure you invest in yourself and realize, like, look, all I gotta do is do this one time. And your return on investment when you invest in yourself is absolutely amazing. Those student loans, all those credit card debt, all that stuff that you've been spending money on, test prep, stop it. Just stop right then and there. Find something that's gonna work and find somebody that's gonna work with you until it's all over with, and that is your girl. Hold me accountable, I hold you accountable. We're gonna get this test and we're gonna get you licensed. That is the bottom line. So I want you to drop in a comment which research tip or trick, or should I say information, tricks you up. Which one do you struggle with? Which one helped you have a better understanding at the end of this video? And if you want me to break down more research questions or more ASWB style questions, I need you to hit me in the comment section. Tell me what you want, tell me what you like. That's gonna help me help you elevate and get that license. That is the goal. Remember, over here, we're not guessing, we're using reason, we're using knowledge, and we're gaining confidence. One day, one question, one member, one person, whatever it is at a time. That is what we're doing over here at LCSW Vibes. Thanks so much for tapping in. I hope this video was hella helpful. Make sure you drop it in the comment section. And what I want you to do differently this time is share this video with a friend. I realize that you guys keeping all the information. As social workers, we don't gatekeep. Share this information with a friend. Somebody that's been struggling, need a little bit of motivation to help them level up and pass this exam. Let them know, look, they ain't got to do it by themselves. There's somebody out there that's willing to help them. Make sure you tap in. Make sure you help us out. Make sure you do that. Of course, it's Black History Month. I don't know when you're watching this video, but I'm created in the big 2026. You might be watching the big 2030, whatever it is. It's Black History Month. And I'm just proud to say that I'm a thriving HBCU grad for undergrad and my master's level. And I'm telling you, it is a game changer. It's helped me get to places in rooms that I never thought that I could and would be in. And I'm expecting that from you. So make sure you tap in, level up, tell somebody about it, all that good stuff, guys. You already know I can be here all day talking to you guys because I love y'all. So be blessed. See you in the next one.